with you, with you, with you, with you, just wanna be alone.
ishirini safari anza ya kutunganisha kama Wakenya. Twende tukiuke, let's go beyond.
Recording in progress.
Let's go beyond. Mimi na wewe tukikundi, kazi nzuri ya kujivunia. Let's go beyond, let's go beyond. Kwa juhudi na matumaini, twaelekea kesho pamoja. Twende tukiuke, Safaricom.
Good morning and a very warm welcome to you. We are welcoming you to the launch of the 10th Safaricom Sustainable Business Report. We are transmitting live from the Michael Joseph Center here at the Safaricom headquarters in Nairobi. My name is Yvonne Okwara and I will be your host this morning. And today we're focusing on the 10th report, like we have said, and what a journey that has been. Just some background, it's been 10 years of Safaricom committing sustainability practices to its overall business strategy. And so today we're going to be taking a look, having a balanced overview of how Safaricom has performed in this respect over the last year, but it's also going to be a reflection of what has taken place over the last 10 years, what that commitment has made, and of course also reflecting importantly on the last year that has been an extraordinary year for us in all respects, in economy and business. And during a time of a pandemic, never have the practices and the principles of sustainability been more relevant in terms of collaborating with stakeholders. And so today, as we have done every single year with the launch of each and every report, it'll be taking stock of the gains and, of course, the lessons learned for the future. And it's also talking about collaboration with others in the corporate sector, with government, with those in the UN, because remember, the sustainability journey is a collaborative one to ensure sustainable communities and for the future. Now, the theme for this year's report is Standing Together, Going Beyond. And we are inviting you to be able to give your views and share all the gems that are in this room here with those who are online. The hashtag we're using is Sustainable Safaricom, and our social media handles across all platforms is Safaricom PLC. So we invite you to take a look at that and to share quite a bit of what will be happening here. So before we begin, let's set a few ground rules, right? So we are live from us here physically in the room. So for those of us who are here with us in the room, please put your phones on silent to minimize any disruption or distraction from the proceedings that will be taking place here and the conversation. Also, we are in a pandemic, a quick reminder of that. And so we advise you to maintain your seating position that has been in line with social distancing. We have sanitizers on your table for your comfort and an extra mask. This is an envelope on your tables. Here's another one for those in the room. Should you wish to use the facilities, they're out to your right. And also your right and your left will be exits in the event of fire. But we know we are safe and that should not be happening, but we will advise you accordingly. Now, for those of you who are joining us virtually, karibuni sana, thank you for being with us. We'll have a chance to engage you as well. Also, for your comfort, please make sure that you keep yourself on mute until and unless prompted to unmute yourself. Stay engaged. We have some great prizes for you who's joining us virtually. So we definitely want to hear from you as well. If you've got any comments, please drop those in the chat box. I'll be taking a look at that. For any questions you have, remember you will have a chance to engage with us here, especially during our panel session. The Q&A box is available for you to drop in your questions there. And so you can start doing that right away, and I will be getting to that. Remember also, we've got some exciting exciting prizes for you. And here's another exciting thing for me today. Remember, we said we are talking about standing together, going beyond, but we'll also be taking a look at the future we want. And for the first time here, I will be having some young co-moderators who represent the future, which is what sustainability is all about, and having them hold us to account for the commitments that we make here. I'll be introducing you to my co-moderators, young boys and girls, men and women, who will be the future of this nation. So I'm looking forward to that. Very exciting. Here's another quick announcement for you in line with Safaricom's diversity and inclusion agenda. For those of us who are joining us online, we have a sign language interpreter, and he'll be helping me along throughout the day. His name is Godwin Gitahi Mwamba. Thank you and welcome. So let's get this started, shall we? So I've done a bit of talking here. You know how I am. I'm doing great this morning. But I want to touch base with you, especially those of you who are joining us virtually online. So I want to know how you're feeling. Nisalamu, this is what we do in Africa. I would like you to log on to menti.com. That's www.menti.com. I want a chance to hear from you. How you are feeling this morning. Talk to me a little bit. So have you logged on to menti.com? This is the code. It's on your screens now. Enter the code 62954455. By the way, for those of you in the room, please do so as well. This is a chance for me to hear from you, touch base, see how things are going. So here it is, menti.com. The code is 62954455. So I want to know very quickly from you, how are you feeling today? How are you feeling today? It was a bit of a chilly ride for me this morning. I don't know what it was like for you. Have you woken up well? Are you in good health? Have you had something to drink, maybe something to keep you warm? How are you feeling? Please type in your responses. I want to hear from you. Oh, tired? Okay. Great. Anxious? Why are you anxious? You're energized. Awesome. I like that. You're feeling like a star. Whoever said that, that's fabulous. You're optimistic. You're good. You're excited. You're energized. I'm loving this. I want to give just about 5 more seconds for this. How are you feeling today? You are hopeful for the day. That's good. We'll be talking about, sustainability and where we go for the future. Anyone feeling optimistic about the future and where we are? I know we're in a pandemic, so it's always important to check in with each other. Great. So now that I know how you're doing, remember, we're here to talk about sustainability in Kenya and indeed in the region. So tell me, which SDG do you associate yourself with the most? Which SDG do you associate yourself with the most? I see a good few responses. Education, goal number 17, goal number 12. I wonder which will be the most popular today. We've got 4 of you with goal number 17. Responsible consumption and production. SDG number 12 on responsible consumption and production. Good. Quality education, that's great and that's good to hear. You'll be hearing from some young students as well. And I like this one, decent work and economic growth, as well as the last one, partnership for goals. Okay, so here's another one for you. My final question, I want to hear from you. When did Safaricom launch the first Sustainable Business Report? Which year did Safaricom launch the first Sustainable Business Report? I said this at the beginning. Well, I gave you a bit of a hint, so let's see if you get it. Oh dear. Oh dear. Okay, let me give you, I see a first correct answer. Like we said, it's been 10 years. This is the 10th report. I see, so can you do the math? How long has it been? The correct answers, I'm starting to see those coming in. Okay, so someone clever says 10 years ago. That's a clever way of doing it. The question was which year? And the correct answer to that is the year 2012. Thank you so much for participating, and it's really good to hear from you. So that's a good one, isn't it? I'm glad you're all feeling good and very optimistic, ready to rumble and ready for the day. Thank you so much for participating with me. So stay engaged. We'll be coming back to you in a moment. So let us kick this off right now. I'd like us to begin by hearing from the chairman of Safaricom PLC, that's Mr. Michael Joseph, who is joining us live here from the United Kingdom. Michael?
Thank you. Thank you, Yvonne. Hope you can hear me. Betty Miner, the CS Ministry of Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development, my fellow board members who are there and attending online, Safaricom CEO Peter Ndegwa, our guest speaker Stephen Jackson, UN President and Coordinator, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to all of you. It's very nice for me to be attending, even if it is remotely, and I hope all is well in Nairobi today. On behalf of the Safaricom Board of Directors, it's my pleasure to present our 10th Sustainable Business Report. The theme of this year's report is Standing Together, Going Beyond, as has been mentioned, which is based on our commitment to help individuals, communities, businesses realize their dream by providing transformational products and services. The report, which covers our last fiscal year from 1st of April 2020 to the 31st of March 2021, discloses our efforts to achieve our purpose of transforming lives by transparently showing our successes, setbacks, and future focus areas, all of which are important to our businesses and of interest to our various stakeholders. Last financial year, ladies and gentlemen, was one of transitions. I took over from our long-serving chairman, Nicholas Nanga, who retired after serving on the Safaricom board for over a decade and a half, including 13 years as chairman. The board and I thank him once again for his unwavering commitment to Safaricom and continue to wish him well in his retirement from this position. Peter Ndegwa took up the role of CEO at the start of the 2021 financial year, just as government imposed COVID-19 related restrictions. Despite the challenges, he is still engaged constructively with regulators and successfully drove the process of enabling and authorizing staff to work from home, as well as taking actions to ensure our people, business partners, and our other stakeholders were protected and safe. More importantly, Peter and his leadership team have continued to demonstrate an understanding of the role we have played in Kenyan society that has helped us grow and succeed. It is with this in mind that in October 2020, we embarked on our new business strategy that will transform Safaricom into a purpose-led technology organization by 2025. This strategy will see Safaricom focus on new business areas such as agribusiness, education, healthcare, the financial sector, SMEs, and regional expansion, amongst others. We have also started to transition the company into an agile way of working to ensure that we do not fall into the complacency trap that affects some large organizations. We firmly believe that as an organization, we need to move out from our comfort zone in order to remain vigilant, relevant, and that agile will help us achieve this. Ladies and gentlemen, the COVID-19 pandemic highlighted the way in which we are all connected and reaffirmed our belief that our present and future are intimately linked to the well-being of the society in which we serve. Against this backdrop, we readily stepped up to support our stakeholders during the pandemic, and I am proud of the actions that Safaricom took, standing with the country by supporting measures such as enabling people to work and learn from home, zero rating M-Pesa transactions under 1,000 shillings, and our involvement in the government's COVID-19 helpline and financial support to those who needed it most. I would also like to thank our regulators, including the Communications Authority of Kenya and the Central Bank of Kenya, for their support and readiness to have continuous and productive dialogue throughout this challenging period. We appreciate that part of the reason we are able to offer this support during the pandemic is that we operate in a regulatory environment that allows companies to flourish and succeed. The board also recognizes the extent to which past actions from across the different arms of government have helped to facilitate the growth and success of our organization. Ladies and gentlemen, as we celebrated our 20th anniversary last October, we reflected on our success throughout the past 2 decades, which has been premised on going beyond the provisions of expected telco products and services. We've done so by identifying our customers' most pressing needs, adding value for the society in which we serve, and transforming every aspect of their daily lives. In doing so, we have focused on changing society for the better and for the greater good of all Kenyans. This is driven mainly by our belief that sustainable business must ensure inclusive business, drive economic growth, and respond to the needs of its society. Indeed, as you will see in the independent True Value Assessment featured in this report, we sustained over 190,000 direct and indirect jobs during the financial year. And if the wider effects on the economy are included, this number increases to over 1 million jobs. Looking to the future, we are optimistic about the opportunities as management implements the new strategy of being a purpose-led technology company aligned with our 9 priority sustainable development goals. We look forward to engaging with the relevant regulators to ensure awareness of this strategy and seek support in areas such as legislation, taxation, interpretation of laws, amongst others. We will also continue to work with the management to deliver value to our shareholders, but most importantly, we'll work to ensure that Safaricom continues to transform the lives of our customers, employees, business partners, and communities across Kenya as we connect them to the future and beyond. As I conclude, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to take this opportunity to recognize the resilience demonstrated by our staff, suppliers, and partners during this challenging period. We are pleased that we have done so while that it remains at the heart of our overall business strategy. We acknowledge that our responsibility as the board is to ensure the integrity of the Sustainable Business Report, and we are confident that it accurately presents the progress to which we have made towards our goal of building a more sustainable business together. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Over to you, Yvonne.
Joseph is the chair of Safaricom PLC. We apologize for the little sound hitch there, but we thank you very much for joining us live from the United Kingdom. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the world that we live in.
Having virtual appearances, and we thank you for that. And indeed for underscoring the journey
Of sustainability and for reminding us all of the resilience that we have displayed as a nation over the last year, which we can undoubtedly say has been most challenging, but has brought out the best in us, in stakeholders, in corporates, in business,
in government as well as non-state actors. So, like we said, it's been 20 years of Safaricom,
half of which have
been proof that purpose
and profit can go together. So let's get to now an overview of that 10-year journey of sustainability in business practice. Let's hear
now from Stephen Chege, who's the Chief Corporate Affairs Officer here at Safaricom PLC. Bwana Chege, please.
Good morning, everyone. Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development, Ms. Betty Minor, Safaricom PLC Chairman Michael Joseph, and members of the board present today, Safaricom CEO Peter Ndegwa, UN Resident Coordinator Stephen Jackson, B-Lab CEO Nguyen Kimani, Standard Chartered Bank CEO Kariuki Ngare, members of the Fourth Estate, blogging community, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, once more, good morning. Do this. Thank you very much for joining us as we launch our 10th Sustainable Business Report under the theme, Standing Together, Going Beyond. A company's ability to positively impact social and environmental change has become an increasingly relevant consideration for businesses and shareholders. Environmental, social, and governance factors cover a broad range of issues that touch on everything from the company's culture to climate impact and diversity. Sustainability reporting aims to highlight both a company's wins and challenges around these issues. It seeks to go beyond the financial performance to give a more intimate and accurate description of a business. We also know that it is not good enough to simply make claims about sustainability compliance. We need to provide tangible, credible demonstration by providing and following proper guidelines on sustainability reporting. Our Sustainable Business Report is prepared in accordance with the Global Reporting Initiative and is an explicit obligation of our continued membership in the UN Global Compact. and also an expression of our belief in the principles enshrined in the Code of Ethics for businesses in Kenya. As a company, we seek to contribute to sustainable business throughout Kenya and remain committed to managing our operations responsibly and ethically. That is why for the last decade, we have published an annual sustainable business report to disclose the progress we have made towards building a more sustainable organization. We have also documented our sustainability journey because we believe in holding ourselves accountable by sharing our successes, challenges, and constraints in a public, transparent, and open manner. Even more importantly, we publish this report because we believe that we have a duty to raise awareness of the sustainability challenges we face as a society and to ensure that these remain part of a broader discussion here in Kenya and also internationally. Our 10-year sustainability journey. Ladies and gentlemen, for the last 10 years, our sustainability reporting has set us apart from other businesses. But our sustainability journey really began much earlier in the year 2000 when Safaricom was born. Even then, we knew that we exist to do more than just provide connectivity to our customers. We knew that we exist to transform lives. We developed our first official sustainability framework in 2012, first defining our sustainability vision, conducting a sustainability risk analysis, classifying our 8 key material matters, and identifying our stakeholders. We also started tracking and reporting on our carbon footprint. Just 1 year later, in 2013, we changed our materiality assessment from a risk-based approach to a business imperatives and opportunities approach, which allowed us to look at the initiatives we needed to realize our potential for growth. That same year in 2013, we started the process of integrating sustainability in our supply chain by initiating supplier self-assessment among our large suppliers. In 2014, we redefined our sustainability strategy and made firm short-term and long-term commitments around the 8 material matters. Part of this strategy included engaging an independent firm for the first time to conduct sustainability assurance, which is a key component in reporting on the material matters. In 2015, material matters from 8 to 4 in order to allow us to. We also adopted the KPMG True Value methodology, which allows us to evaluate through an independent party the total value we create for the society over and above our financial profits. Our latest True Value Earnings report indicates that the value to Kenyan society we created increased 1.5% and that we contributed a total of 5.2% to the country's GDP. 1 year after we introduced the True Value methodology reporting, we took another major step in our sustainability journey when we began the process of integrating the Sustainable Development Goals in our business strategy. These goals aim to end extreme poverty, fight inequality, injustice, and bring global attention to the effects of climate change, all with the objective of creating a world in which nobody is left behind. We have adopted 9 of the 17 SDGs and have incorporated this into our performance objectives, both as a company and at individual employee level. In making the SDGs a central pillar of our business, we have made sustainable development a part of Safaricom's organizational and company culture. In 2018, we were named for the first time as a Global Compact lead company for our high levels of engagement as a participant in the United Nations Global Compact, and we have been included in that list ever since. This year, with the assistance of an independent party, we conducted a desktop benchmarking exercise to understand and compare our material issues. Out of the exercise, we have added partnerships and platforms as part of our key material matters to reflect our transition from a telco to a technology company in line with Safaricom's new business strategy. Ladies and gentlemen, I now want to share a few nuggets from our 10-year journey. Today, we continue to be guided by our purpose of transforming lives and the SDGs which sit at the heart of our business strategy and informs everything that we do. By staying true to our purpose, we're helping farmers to improve their agricultural practices and giving them inputs and credit. We're empowering learners with access to education and breaking down barriers to allow Kenyans all over the country to access quality and affordable medical care. Guided by our purpose, we are also using our voice to advocate for better governance, to protect the rights of children, to push for greater diversity and inclusion in the workplace, and to raise awareness about climate change. Our purpose has also been our guiding light as we continue to help the country navigate the COVID-19 pandemic through both our philanthropic arms and our products and services. We do not do these things because we're expected to. We do them because we believe it is the right thing to do. Having walked this journey for the last decade, there's some valuable lessons which I'd now like to share. The first one is know, show, and grow your numbers. What does this mean? The first thing we learned early in the journey is the importance of not only knowing and showing your numbers, but demonstrating how you're growing these numbers. A great example of this is how we tracked and act on numbers through our commitment to a net zero carbon emitting company by the year 2050. This is an ambitious goal, but one that is forcing us to think more creatively about how we can achieve it while supporting the growth of our network. Over the last 7 years, we have been measuring our carbon footprint, and we have now successfully registered our carbon reduction targets with the Science Based Targets Initiative, STI. This means that our targets are in line with the latest climate science, necessary to meet the goals of the Paris Agreement aimed at limiting global warming to well below 2 degrees above pre-industrial levels, and pursuing efforts to limit warming to 1.5 degrees. As you will see in this year's report, we had a mixed set of results as far as this area is concerned. Our Scope 2 emissions, which covers indirect emissions from electricity, reduced by 2%, despite expansion in our network due to power efficiency improvements which we have put in place. Our Scope 3 travel-related emissions reduced significantly by 33% due to reduced travel by staff during this year when we have had the COVID-19 travel restrictions. However, our Scope 1 or direct emissions from owned or controlled sources increased by 10%, mainly due to the increased use of diesel in network generators because of the frequent power outages experienced in the last year. To ensure we meet the targets going forward, we continue to transition our network sites to renewable sources of energy. So far, 92% of our over 5,500 sites in our network are running either on the national grid or renewable and hybrid energy sources. We have also planted over 800,000 trees under our carbon offset tree growing initiative, which is part of our commitment to grow 5 million trees in the next 5 years, which we estimate will offset 26% of our emissions. My colleague Karen will delve deeper into our latest numbers, including what we have achieved so far and the targets we are setting. Another lesson we have learned is setting the tone from the top. Ladies and gentlemen, other than knowing and growing our numbers, we have learned that it is important for leadership to be intimately involved in the sustainability journey. At Safaricom, we are fortunate to have had the support of not only our executive leadership team, but that of the board, and you saw our chairman speaking earlier, as well as our board, who are responsible for ensuring that sustainability remains at the heart of our overall business strategy. To use a popular phrase, our leaders led by the chairman of the board, the CEO, and management have not only talked the talk, they are walking it with the team in the sustainability journey. The best example of this is around how we approach the integration of the SDGs. We used a co-creation approach, which consisted of engaging with the senior leadership team and the sustainability champions to develop a framework for integrating the SDGs into our corporate strategy. As the report highlights, we have now incorporated our priorities SDGs, the 9 of them, which I mentioned, into our performance objective, both as a company and at individual employee level. Each division is implementing projects or developing products and services in line with the SDGs. Reporting on targets related to the SDGs is now central on our ways of working, and we seek to empower all those with whom we work to set their own. This includes our partners. The final lesson we have picked up, and probably the most important one, is that sustainability remains a journey and not a destination. It is not about merely hoping to become 100% sustainable someday, but about working towards that goal every single day. During this journey, we have also learned the importance of carrying others along. Through the Safaricom Sustainable Future series, which we launched last year, we aim to inspire more business leaders in the private sector in Kenya to work together to tackle some of the most pressing challenges of this decade. We continue to encourage all our suppliers to sign up to our Supplier Code of Conduct and the Code of Ethics for Businesses in Kenya. The provisions under this code cover relations with competitors, bribery and conflicts of interest, child labor, wages and benefits, as well as environmental matters. It is commendable to see more organizations joining us in this journey, and we congratulate companies like the East African Breweries, who recently launched their inaugural sustainability report. Ladies and gentlemen, what we have achieved so far and the targets we are setting, which my colleagues will soon talk about, are not just a sign of our commitment to operating a sustainable business. They are a promise we are making to our stakeholders. I would like to close by saying that as a private sector, we're in a unique position to drive positive change, especially now more than ever. Our responsibilities go beyond generating returns for our investors to creating real, shared value for every single one of our stakeholders. Our 10th Sustainable Business Report comes against a backdrop of what has been a very difficult year due to the effects of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. This year, Safaricom's purpose of transforming lives was called upon in many ways as we stood together with communities to weather this storm. This report, titled Standing Together, Going Beyond, is a reflection of this and our belief that businesses must work harder and more to stand together with the community. Thank you for your attention, and I look forward to the discussions to follow.
Thank you very much, Stephen Chege. So what does that journey look like in video? Watch this. The business of a business is not just business anymore. I absolutely love that quote. What a journey, a 10-year journey. Just to recap a little bit of what Stephen Chege says, it is not a destination. You never really attain perfection. It is progress over perfection, and it is indeed a lifelong journey. And it is not the thing that you do in your business on the side, as we have seen and heard from Stephen Chege's remarks. It's about incorporating it into business strategy and making it a central pillar of the business, because that is what sustainability is all about. Many thanks to Stephen Chege for that, for giving us that 10-year journey of sustainability at Safaricom. Let's now get an in-depth look at the 10th Safaricom Sustainable Business Report and get an overview of what indeed the last year has been. And for that, let's hear now from Karen Basia, who's the head of Sustainable Business and Social Impact. Ms. Karen, karibu.
Good morning, everyone. I have the honor of presenting the 2021 Sustainable Business Report this morning. Thank you, Michael and Steve, for setting the tone. Thank you to all of those who are joining us online as we go on this journey. So this is our 10th report, and we use the GRI model. The standards, we report on the core option. It's a journey we've been on, and I'm very happy to be here to present it to you. Over the years, we've learned to take a deep emphasis onto the SDGs. We've aligned the SDGs to going beyond. We've integrated the 9 SDGs into our business strategy. This report is balanced. We talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And over the years, being 10 years, we have managed to get some trend analysis as we go along. So allow me at this point to recognize the continued leadership that we get from our board. Thank you, Michael. The CEO, thank you, Peter. Our executive leadership team, thank you. Our Chief Corporate Affairs Officer, thank you so much, Steve Chege. And it will be a disservice if I don't say that this report is worked on by 40 different champions across the business. Thank you to the champions who have contributed to this report. And there are some champions like me who've been in this journey 10 years. I have all the 10 years experience in this report. Thank you to the core sustainability team, Samson, Agnes, Michael, Valentine, Owen, and Chris, for helping put this report together. And thank you, Team KPMG, for always being there to guide us, and Team PwC for assuring this report and the numbers in it. So going beyond and just giving you a quick review of the year, in the year under review, our diversity remained 50-50. There's not been a major change in that. And our staff, 92% of them, understand their purpose, and they're fully engaged and willing to work here. Regrettably, in the year under review, we had 3 fatalities involving third parties, 1 pedestrian fatality, 1 fatality involving a motorcycle taxi rider, and 1 fatality due to a fall from height. In response to this, as a business, we have committed to conduct a national sensitization campaign on road safety, as well as our zero harm agenda as a business. On the environmental side, our footprint has grown by 10%, and as Steve said, this is attributed to the recurrent power outages that forced us to use diesel generators, as well as the aggressive expansion, as you'll see in the next slide. On the infrastructure side, we've had very good growth across all the platforms and touch points that we have. We have good growth in 3G, 4G. 4G last year was at 70-something%. Now we're at 94%. We've had good growth in fiber and fiber to the home. We've upgraded 1,045 sites to 4G, and this is because of the demand driven by our customers working from home and needing to stay in touch during the pandemic. Looking at the economic side, the greatest contributor to the value we create has been the economic side of it has been our operational expenditure, which increased marginally in the year under review. Also, the capital expenditure, which decreased, also affected a few of the numbers I'll show you in the True Value report. Our customers comprise of enterprise business customers and the consumer customer. We classify them in those two main categories, and the consumer customers are those who consume services such as voice, mobile, fixed data, and mobile money. The enterprise customers include businesses of all sizes, ranging from small and medium enterprises to large corporations and public entities. In the year under review, we experienced growth across all customer channels and across all the customer bases. The financials were explained during the full year results, so allow me now to dive into the financials. So we do have the True Value Bridge. In the True Value Bridge, it shows that as a business, we remain committed to our purpose of transforming life, and our latest True Value report indicates that the true value to Kenyan society created by Safaricom, cumulatively, that is looking at the social, the economic, and the environmental impact, is 9.7 times the financial profit of the year. This has gone up slightly from last year, and we have also contributed 5% to the GDP of this country. This has slightly dipped this year based on the investments we did and also on the operating model. What is worth noting here is the growing contribution from social externalities, particularly through the social value created by M-Pesa as the product grows and evolves. In the year under review, we did have a materiality review. We saw it is 10 years and thought it was time that we looked into our material matters and see if we are still relevant to our stakeholders, to the shareholders, to the investors, and to the community in which we operate in. So after the review, the material matters now are governance, business ethics and risks, our regulatory environment, our platforms. This is where we've had a significant shift, because previously we called it the network. Now it is our platforms. Then we have environmental stewardship as one of the material matters, and then innovations and partnerships. So we've rejigged a few of these. Allow me to give you a little insights into the material matters. So under governance, business ethics and risk highlights, our highlights are, so ongoing leveraging of machine learning and cyber threat intelligence. We have had a robust cybersecurity program in place. We've established specialized fraud management squads, developed an in-house solution to detect and respond to fraud impacting financial institutions, partners interacting with M-Pesa, and also we have had quarterly fraud forums for financial institutions where almost 233 participants did attend these forums. On the screen, you'll see types of cases investigated, and in the year under review, data privacy is one of the cases that has shot up compared to last year. Our regulatory highlights. For the first time this year, we surpassed the quality of service regulatory target by 12% to achieve 92%. So this is the first year we've achieved a score over 80%. We also obtained trial spectrum for 5G, and we have now officially rolled out 5G. I think you saw that in the screen. Then we have secured NEMA licenses to roll out 4G, so NEMA supported us in the 4G growth you've seen and the 5G network. And also in the year under review, we managed to do various environmental audits. Looking ahead, we look to create awareness on 5G and its benefits to eradicate the existing conspiracy theories and leakages to COVID-19. So in the year under review, we'll continue creating awareness. We also look forward to providing feedback to the proposed Central Bank Act Amendment Bill, which seeks to extend the Central Bank of Kenya's mandate to regulate digital borrowing platforms. So this is what we are looking forward to on the regulatory front. From our platform, the highlights here are the launch of 5G and rollout of 5G, which I've already mentioned. I think we have 30 sites, planning to roll out 30 sites in the near future and 150 at the end of this big financial year. This is the 5th year running where we are first in quality of service scores as assessed by an independent third party. We've had significant growth in the enterprise customer front and also strong growth in our fiber as depicted by the graph in front of you. Looking at our platforms continuing, For the future focus, we want to expand the number of 5G sites to 150 in 9 towns over the next 12 months. We want to connect an additional 70,000 homes with fiber. We want to launch the Base video platform, which will enable online content creators to monetize their content. Officially launch the Mtandao mobile app, which empowers Safaricom customers using Android devices to monitor their network experience and easily and conveniently. We'll continue growing to the 4G coverage to 100%. Then finalize partnerships with Microsoft Azure and Google Cloud, and also continue to launch a product known as Bima that aims to mitigate the impacts of loss of life within family and also theft. Moving on to environmental stewardship, our highlights in the year under review has been attainment of the energy certification standard, ISO 5001-2018. We've also managed to be recertified under the environmental management standard, ISO 14001-2015. We continue reporting on our emissions. We've managed to now join the CDP, the Carbon Disclosure Project, joining over 8,400 companies, reporting and using the Carbon Disclosure Platform. We continue on our tree growing initiative, and we aim to hit the 1 million mark end of this FY, but we've also engaged 1,000 community members in this initiative. We signed up to the Business for Nature call to action, so we're one of the companies that is supporting businesses for nature. Looking at the carbon footprint, we did not achieve our Scope 1 and Scope 2 emission reduction targets for this financial year, with overall carbon emission increasing by 10.5%. Scope 1 increased by 10%. When I look at Scope 3 travel, it reduced significantly by 33% due to the reduced travel by staff during the year as a result of COVID-19 restrictions. So for us to ensure that we meet the target going forward, we'll continue to transition our network sites to renewable energy sources, with priority being connecting them to the national grid and energy efficiency measures so that we can catch up on our net zero journey. Looking ahead, we want to expand our renewable energy solutions, mini-grid programs. We want to be a single-use plastic-free company by 2022. We are well on track to achieving this. We want to scale up our end-to-end integrated waste management beyond Nairobi. We've managed to pilot here in Nairobi. We are able to recycle, and you can see on your screen how we are doing with our recycling. If you look at the numbers that have gone down on the negative, is because we've not had employees working from the office. So automatically the waste went down, but we are going to expand this program to the regions. And also we want to digitize our environmental database so that it is easier for us to be able to collect environmental data and be able to calculate our footprint as we move along. Under innovation and partnerships, together with Vodacom, we completed the acquisition of M-Pesa Africa brand, product development and support services. We successfully submitted the bid for Ethiopia, and we were awarded as part of the consortia. We achieved advanced consulting partnership with Amazon Web Services. We launched the Lipa Mdogo Mdogo device financing initiative. And we also successfully implemented the public service IoT program for matatus. And as I had mentioned earlier, 4G growth has been very fantastic. On the screen, you'll also see our partnership ecosystem from agriculture, where we have DigiFarm. Under clean energy, we have MGAS and MCOPA. Under education, we have the revision tool Eneza. Under financial services, we have Mshwari, M-Pesa, Fuliza, Alipay, and under health, we have MTIBA. So in the year, this year, what is our focus? We are looking to launch the M-Pesa Super App and consolidate all the products and services under one app. We look to launch Afya Moja, which is a medical records health portability platform. We look to scaling our fertilizer e-subsidy and securing the license. So now we've already done that. Then we look to partner with Huawei for an innovative solution for hotels, restaurants, integrating their menus, and M-Pesa for ease of payment. So allow me to just take you through one key stakeholder. But here at Safaricom, we do define our stakeholders as people, communities, or organizations who are actively involved in our business and could influence our business outcomes in one way, or who may be impacted by the activities related to our business. Our stakeholders include, we engage with our stakeholders in the spirit of mutual trust and respect through both formal and informal channels. We engage in a transparent and honest manner, and we get insights from them that help us drive our Transforming Lives agenda. So we engage with the media, we have our shareholders, we have the business partners, the regulators, employees, society, and customers. I will just take a deep dive into one of the stakeholder groups, and that is the customer. So in the year under review, we embarked on our customer obsession journey, whereby we seek to deepen customer engagement and experience. Under customer obsession, we will work to add value continuously to our customers' experience of and interacting with us, using the various touchpoints and platforms to collect feedback regularly and prioritize customer needs. Our approach in deepening the engagement with our customers is based on the 6 pillars on the screen. Transparency, reliable, the writing is too little for me to read, but the 6 pillars, as you can see, is how we will be engaging with our customers. Future focus, customer obsession still remains a priority for us. We will provide tailored offers for our customers to address concerns of value and affordability. We will also continue to work on enhancing transparency in billing. We'll scale our penetration in the MSME space and SOHO space. We'll develop solutions that drive business and operational efficiencies for our customers, IoT, cloud, and hosting solutions, and reliable internet. Then we will work to improve our customer NPS and brand consideration scores by leveraging on our customer data. In conclusion, why do we do this report? Simply put, what gets measured gets managed. Thank you for your attention.
Let's give Karen a big round of applause for that. What is most important about these annual reports is that they're a balanced overview. They're honest about some of the places that need more improvement, and of course, taking a look and acknowledging the successes as well. Karen and the entire team, including Steve Chege, we thank you for this presentation today. And we will be launching this officially in just a few moments. I just want to remind everybody that the hashtag that we're using is Sustainable Safaricom, and the social media handles across all platforms is at Safaricom PLC. So keep that coming. For those of you who are joining us online, I'm seeing hundreds of you there. So thank you for staying with us there. Just a quick reminder, all of your comments, please put those in the chat section. If you've got any questions, put those in the Q&A tab. That's where we'll be taking a look at them when we get to our panel discussion in a moment. And just to remind you, I've got some great co-moderators, one young lady and one young man, and they will be helping me here. And it's all about standing together for the future that we want, and inviting them now to start participating in sustainability and holding us to account for the commitments that we make now for the future. So I cannot wait for you to meet them, and I'll be introducing them to you in just a moment. But for those of you who are joining us virtually, before we get into that panel session, are you ready to win some prizes? Are you ready? It's all about Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, all the 17 of them. How well do you know them? I'm going to be checking that with you in a moment. And I have some exciting prizes for you to win. Let me just tell you what's in store. It's an Evo pad. And it has a mouse pad, comes with a wireless charger, a pen holder, and it is foldable and portable. So here's how we're going to play this game. I have a question for you. We're going to spin the wheel in just a moment. I will have a question for you. Whoever is first to raise their hand and then type in the correct answer. All right? I will be giving that to you. So are you ready to play? Let's walk over here with me. Here is my wheel, and we're about to spin that in just a moment. Let's test your knowledge of the Sustainable Development Goals, shall we, for just a moment? So, shall we spin the wheel, please? All right, so let's see what we've landed on. Here is a question on reduced inequalities, that is SDG number 10. This is the question. Who made this famous quote related to SDGs? It says, I raise up my voice, not so I can shout, but so that those without a voice can be heard. We cannot succeed when half of us are held back. Is it A, Greta Thunberg? Is it B, Malala Yousafzai? Or is it Yemi Alade or Padma Lakshmi? Is it A, B, C, or D? I want to take a look at what you think. Let me see right here on the chat box. I want to see the very first correct answer. Who made that famous quote related to SDGs? Ladies and gentlemen, the first correct answer that I can see from our virtual attendees is Caesar Mungai. You are correct. It is absolutely Malala Yousafzai, and she's a great one regarding inequality and, of course, education as well. Caesar Mungai, let's give Caesar a round of applause. Congratulations, Caesar. Let's give Caesar a round of applause. Great. You will be getting that Evo pad. We'll be connecting with you to make sure that you receive your prize. Caesar, congratulations. You were quick on the button and quick with the correct answer. If you haven't won yet, I'll have one more chance for you. So please stay engaged, stay with us, and continue to share everything that we're hearing here. The hashtag, once again, is Sustainable Safaricom. So now that we've taken a bit of a break, I want us to get into our conversation this morning. And we're talking about standing together for the future we want. I have been teasing this all morning because I am very excited about who will be doing this with me. Typically, I do this alone, but today I am introducing to you the future sustainable leaders, people who will be sitting in the seats we are here today in government, in private sector, people who will be sitting in my seat not too long from now. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like us to give a warm round of applause to my two co-moderators and sustainable leaders of the future, Marianne Gishoge, who's a student at M-Pesa Foundation Academy, and Precious Edwin Tumaini, who's a student at Starehe Boys Center. Please welcome them on stage with a hearty round of applause as they make their way here. They will be helping me ask the questions to the other panelists, whom I will introduce to you in just a moment. And they will also be telling us what sustainability means to them. Thank you, Sana, Karibuni. I know we can give them another round of applause. Just keep them at ease and welcome them here. And we thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule in school. So thank you for being here with us. But also on the panel today, we've got Peter Ndegwa, who's the Chief Executive Officer of Safaricom. Thank you very much, Peter, for making the time for us here today. Also, we've got Kariuki Ngare, who's the CEO of Standard Chartered Bank Kenya. Asante sana to you. And also joining the panel this morning, Ngwing Kimani, who is Executive Director of B-Lab East and Southern Africa. Thank you very much. I think we've tried to meet the gender requirement for our panels. We've got Marianne and we've got Ngwing. Thank you both very much for joining us here this morning. So we will get into it, but allow me to begin with my very able panelists who are joining me here. Thank you both for coming. Edwin, let me start with you. My very first question to you is, what does sustainability mean to you?
Well, thank you. To me, sustainability means that meeting the necessity and the needs of the present generation without jeopardizing the necessity and needs of the future generation.
Absolutely. And you are the future, so I'm sure you are looking to us with the commitments that we're making to secure your future. Thank you. Marianne, what does sustainability mean to you?
I guess that sustainability means that we're meeting our needs without compromising the needs of the ability of the future generation from meeting their own. But I think sustainability is also understanding that social equity and economic development are interdependent.
Yeah. Can we give them a round of applause? You better watch out. These are the ones who will be sitting in your position making the decisions that you are. Thank you both for that, and we'll have you ask your questions as well to our guests this morning. Peter, let me come to you now. We're coming out of a pandemic, and we're looking forward to building better and seeing what happens beyond the pandemic. We have the mics that are right next to you. I believe they're on, and will be when you begin to speak. So my question to you is that, governments and businesses are now going to be investing, millions, billions, even trillions of dollars in terms of building back better and restoring our societies, possibly to what they were pre-COVID. But how do you navigate that, very delicate balance between doing that and, of course, looking towards the future?
Thank you, Yvonne, and always great to see you. I always say that you're part of our family, so thank you. And also it's great to welcome everyone who has come today and to recognize the two co-moderators that you welcomed, the future generation. So thank you, Edwin, and thank you, Marianne, and you're welcome to Safaricom. You're right, Yvonne, that of course the governments across the world, including in this country, are spending significant amounts to allow us to recover from COVID. We know that COVID has derailed a lot of plans, both at an individual level, but also at a corporate level. And it is fair and natural to start managing risk and focusing on the short term. But also COVID has also underscored the need to use this crisis to recommit to the long term. And there are a number of learnings that we can take from the experience that we've had over the past year and a half. And there are a couple of things that we need to do to build back better. And there are three that I wanted to mention. One is collaboration. We saw that during COVID, it is tempting sometimes to compete, but we saw everyone coming together. At a corporate level, we came together with government to support the country, to come together to really prevent or reduce the spread of the virus, but also to support the country. The second is, of course, leading from purpose. We realized that it is important to deliver profits, and that's what we are here for, to deliver returns to our shareholders. But by leading from purpose, we know that we cannot operate if our society doesn't recover. And therefore, we came together to ensure that we keep the country connected, for example, at Safaricom. And it's important to really always realize that doing good is actually is good for business. And the third one, of course, is what we are talking about today. The SDG gives us a moral compass for us to recommit, to focus on the future. So we can do, it is not about focusing on the present, it's about a balance between managing the risks that we see today to build a more sustainable and resilient business and economy into the future.
Indeed, thank you for that, and it's obviously a delicate balance because you want to perhaps look in the short term and start to rebuild what you have, and as well recommitting to the goals of sustainability, which are more long term. So Kariuki, let's talk about that long term sustainability. With everything that happens in an economy, and you're trying to build an economy back and build it better and make it successful. In the span of doing that, a lot of times, the most vulnerable and the ones who need it are left behind. So my question to you is, what can corporates do to make sure that everybody has access to the basic needs? Education, I'm sure my two co-moderators are looking forward to hearing your response on that. Food, water, and healthcare, how we are recommitting to the long term, even as we manage what has obviously been a challenging year that none of us have been through before.
Thank you, Yvonne. And let me first start by congratulating Peter on the launch of this report. It's excellent. I think you made very, very good progress. And we are very happy to be associated with you. Well done. I think there are a couple of things. When you look at, to ensure that no one is left behind, when you talk about sustainability and the response from the panelists, the students, the future leaders, is really telling. It's how do you make sure that what we are doing today, 50 years from now, the generation that will be alive then, or even 100 years, will be enjoying, will be actually having, they'll actually be enjoying what has been left behind. And because that's what we are doing today as a country. And so for me, what I look at today is, first of all, the corporates at this very moment is to realize that there's a real challenge, that the climate risk is real, and we have to do something about it. So it's a question of making sure that in our planning that we do, we are very conscious of that, and we are deliberately taking action to do something about it. On the issue of the vulnerable populations, what COVID has clearly demonstrated is that the most vulnerable people get the most affected. Even when you look at the economies we live in, when you look at vaccines, what's happening today, it's very clear that if you're poorer, the access to vaccines is quite limited. And that's so we have to be very deliberate. If we really want to have corporates that are sustainable, the corporates are earning share, they are giving returns to the shareholders, so that this generation can continue reaping from those corporates, this generation can get employed in those corporates when they finish their schooling, then you have to be very deliberate to make sure that you are supporting the environment, the society, so that it continues being sustainable. In that way, you have to help with the education system, whether it's the linkages that you've got to have with the education system, so that you're helping the education system be relevant. And then you are deliberately going out of your head to say, how can I help? How can I be relevant? What are the key things that they need to be part, so that they can be part of this change that is happening? And then finally is, how do you create awareness? I think corporates have a big responsibility in creating awareness. When you look at our company Standard Chartered, or even a company like Safaricom, in terms of the reach and the credibility of their messaging, it's very important to create the awareness. And that awareness, when the general population is aware, when people are aware, they are prepared. And once people are prepared, they're able to do something positive. When you talk about, if you take as an example in Kenya today, it doesn't take a lot of reminding for people to plant trees, because the awareness is there. The awareness is being created. People can see the advantages of trees. So that awareness is what makes a difference. So, and that way, it's very, very important, because once you create the awareness, then the most vulnerable parts of your population will not be left behind, because that's the worst mistake we can do as corporates, or as a society, or as communities. You should never leave anyone behind.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, leaving no one behind. And you talk about, creating awareness and credibility of messaging, that I guess is also important. But of course, all of this, rests and begins with leadership. So, Ngwing, what are those conditions that are required for leaders to start to create long-term sustainable conditions for that? And how can we start to create those conditions for leaders?
Thank you, Yvonne. I would also want to congratulate Safaricom and Mr. Ndegwa for launching the sustainability report. As I was listening about the report and having read the report, there are so many things that Safaricom is doing towards their sustainability journey that ordinarily a business would think that it is impossible to achieve. Mr. Ngari mentioned earlier about being a champion, about businesses creating awareness. And I would say it is going beyond creating awareness of the dangers, but also being a peer influencer to say, okay, this is what Safaricom is doing. Can Standard Chartered do? Can another corporate also do? It creates that will to join the leaders in creating change for the future. At B-Lab, what we do is we create standards for businesses to follow. So a lot of times, a business might be hearing this issue about sustainability and not know where to begin. So in partnership with the UN Global Compact, we created a tool called the SDG Action Manager tool, which is essentially a blueprint for businesses to use. And the tool is absolutely free for any size of business to use. So a leader in a business can't get up and say, I don't know where to start, okay, because there's guidance out there to follow. And one of the other things to think about as a business is, what am I contributing to the society besides government? So government is there to create policies and create social services, etc. But government can't do it alone. When you think about business is a touch point for everyone. You're either buying from a business is supplying to you, you're interacting with a business, or you're a business owner, okay? So if you embed sustainability practices in your day-to-day operations as a business, you are going to, by virtue of your existence, be on the journey towards sustainability. So as a leader in the business, you have to be thinking about what is my impact on my customers? As Safaricom has shown in the sustainability report, that is at the forefront of its foundation. What is my impact on my workers? Because oftentimes, as a business, we think about this thing called shareholder profit, giving to the shareholders so that the business can be sustainable. Well, if we think about the shareholders only, our business will fall. Because it is not only the shareholders' profit that causes your business to remain working. So as a leader, you want to think about all your pillars. How are you influencing the environment? How are you influencing your customers, the community in which you operate, and your workers, but more importantly, your governance. Because as Mr. Ndegwa is here today championing sustainability, Safaricom is fortunate to have had leaders over the last 10 years who are on the same path. But what happens if new leadership comes and that's not the journey that they want to do? So once you put it in your legal structures, someone else can't come and change it. Yeah. So those are the types of things that leaders can begin to think about. What is the legacy that they are leaving in the business to make sure that it transcends, this whole sustainability journey transcends beyond them. And then to rally their peers so that they are not walking on this journey by themselves. They are building, they are standing together and going beyond, as Safaricom is doing. And who are they standing together with?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
And that's a great way to put it. You know, like we've said, it's a collaborative journey. And I think for every year that Safaricom has launched its Sustainable Business Report, there's always been others invited across the corporate sector because, like you said, you work together, you know, you challenge each other as peers, and you see areas of collaboration with respect to this. And also, just to reiterate what you said about creating standards, because like what we heard earlier a little bit from Karen, what you cannot measure, you cannot improve. And it's also important that you mention government. We'll be hearing from the Cabinet Secretary who's here with us today, thank you, and as well from the UN Resident Coordinator in a moment. I'm seeing your questions. Keep them coming in. Please use the Q&A tab for that. And of course, all of the good things that are being said here, feel free to share. The hashtag is Sustainable Safaricom. Those are my questions. I know you definitely have some questions. Marianne, let me start with you. What's your question, and who were you directed to?
My question would be directed to Mr. Ndegwa. So what values do you focus on when you're achieving an equilibrium between the two P's, purpose and profit?
I knew I was going to get a tough question.
From a tough young lady.
Yes, thank you, Marianne, for the question. I suppose, I mean, values that are about how we are brought up, kind of how we were educated, what our parents and our society wants us to be. I went to Starehe Boys, not sure whether that's the reason why Edwin is around. And I remember the values around integrity, doing the right thing, serving society. I still remember when I was in fourth form, going as part of our education program, going to serve at a hospital in my county. And that still is present in my mind in terms of giving back to society because of what the society has given us, especially around education. So in the corporate world, in terms of thinking about society, our business, Safaricom, is about transforming lives. And we believe, and this is why I said, doing good is good for business. If we transform lives, our customers will be better, our society will be better, our stakeholders will be better. Therefore, we'll make more profits. Our customers will be happier. So it is not about a conflict. It is actually that, and I think it's what you said when you introduced, it is about going for something that allows us to have a business in a more sustainable way and live a better society for the future. generation, including yourselves.
Thank you, Peter. Edwin?
Thank you. My question goes to Mr. Kariuki Ngari. Well, gender-based inequality has been pervasive in both today's world and in traditional world. What is your organization doing to make sure that you meet gender equality?
Thank you. Very, very good question. The first thing that we've done at Standard Chartered is being very deliberate about it. As you've heard the various speakers have spoken about, you must have the measurements. How do you measure? You must have goals. Otherwise, without the goals, then you cannot meet them. You don't know where you're going to. So we've got very clear measurements, especially whether it's at the board level, at the executive level, and the general population, the general staff population. So when you look at the general population for us, for instance, we are 53% female, 47.5.7, 47.6 male. However, that turns around when you come to senior management. When it comes to senior management, it flips the other way, especially, and we call them the higher grades, where you start finding the females drop off, they start hovering around 35 to 40, and the male move to 65 to 70. And then the EXCO, that's the executive team. That's so we have to be very deliberate and say, what's happening? What is happening? Why are people falling off? And what then do we need to do? You've got to have those targets, and then you've got to take measures, interventions, so that you can prevent the falling off from happening. And then being very focused and look, what are the things, whether it's, and then the policies you create that. If I can just give an example, where for a lot of females, when they start a family, they take a career break. Either they can take a proper career break where you completely stay away, or you're no longer as engaged. When jobs are advertised, you don't apply for them. So it's being very deliberate to encourage them and making sure that we are not, even if you take a career break and you come back, you will not be discriminated against. That is very, very important. Then being very deliberate about the interviewing process. We are very deliberate in the interviewing process. There's nobody who just takes a job just like that. Everything is advertised. Then you have to deal with unconscious biases. Because if you have unconscious biases, if it's an all-male panel, let's assume all-male panel from one part of Kenya, they are most likely going to, when a female comes in, they'll say, no, this one we can't touch, you know. So you've got to start dealing with those unconscious biases that impede the right decision making. So very deliberate training on our people managers and our people to make sure that we train them. What are the unconscious biases that you need to look out for? How do you make sure that the panel is balanced and people are very, very balanced? I just thought I'll give those two examples that we are very deliberate. Because the journey to gender equality in the workplace, it's a journey. It's not something you can just achieve very, very quickly. And you have to be very deliberate, you have to be persistent, and you have to believe in it, and you have to keep on pushing that agenda until one day it will flip. Maybe in 100 years, we'll be dealing with the other way around. It will be more of the boy child, not the girl child like we are speaking today. Thank you.
Absolutely. And it's about, being intentional from the onboarding process and throughout, their time within the organization. Marianne, you've got another question?
Yes. So my last question would be directed to any of you. What has prompted you to focus part of your resources to sustainability projects?
Gwing, do you want to take that?
Sure. Thank you, Marianne. If you think about it generally, if we are not deliberate about sustainability, in 50 years, what happens to the world? And what happens to your future, right? So for me, my vision is because of that, is because of the future that I'm seeing for my children and for the young generation in general. But again, when I think about sustainability and things like gender inequalities and what Mr. Ngari said, the tools that we have, I had mentioned earlier about the SDG Action Manager tool that we did in conjunction with the UN Global Compact. We have another tool called the B Impact Assessment tool that we use to help businesses who are for profit. Because we consistently believe that businesses have the power, and this is what Mr. Chege said in the report, that businesses have the power to solve societal problems. And that is historically not what we have learned. initially we learned that businesses are here to make money. And so this systems change that we champion at B Lab and I champion as an individual is my belief in the fact that number one, business is here to stay. Number two, business is good for society. And number three, business is good for the future.
Edwin, do you have your final question?
Yes, I do. My final question goes to Mr. Peter Ndegwa. Well, 10 years is quite a journey. It's quite a journey, and as we all know, straight road do not make the best of drivers. So, what are the problems that you have faced in the course of your journey of making sure that the sustainable development goals are met, so that we, as the future generation, know what we're going to meet and what is going to be on our way?
Thank you, Edwin. I think it's a great question and actually goes to acknowledge what Yvonne said earlier, that this is a journey. It's not about being perfect. It's a marathon, not a sprint. One of the key aspects of starting a journey is you recognize that you have a way to go, and if you keep that in mind, you'll always see problems as opportunity to improve, rather than as challenges that you see along the way. There has been challenges, whether those are socioeconomic, like COVID. Of course, it disrupts how our planning, disrupts supply chain, and actually introduces risk and puts the business at risk. So the advantages of having a target, a goal, as Bwana Kariuki said earlier, is that you keep track of what the destination is, rather than lose track because those obstacles have come along the way. The second aspect is, of course, changes within the governance structures, whether that is on the board or on management. The way to sustain progress is to ensure that the company has a purpose, and we have always led from purpose of transforming lives, that transcends into the strategy that we have. The SDGs have been built into how we operate. So we transcend the individuals that are running the organization or are governing the organization, and the purpose becoming the guiding light. And then, of course, the third one is also partnerships with others, so that they keep us and they hold us to account. By producing a sustainability report, it means that you cannot hide. There is nowhere to hide. Yes. I know you guys do exams every day. I mean, when you do exams, you know the dashboard will come through. And because of that, it holds us to account, to remain true to what we commit.
Thank you for that, Peter. I would just like to, have one question from the Q&A from our virtual attendees. And I think I will direct this to all three of you, if you can. It's from Edward Mungai, who says, "Great job and keep it up. 10th Sustainability Report is not a small feat. I like the inspiration that you're providing to other businesses in the region. In my view," Edward says, "we need to move from inspiration to action. Is this something that Safaricom can relate to? And if yes, what are some of the ways you plan to go about it?" So Peter, I'll start with you, but I think we can hear from the rest as well. Moving from inspiration to action. Peter, I'll start with you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that question. It's a great question, because many times we can talk about things, but it's actually about bringing into life. Strategies are not about what we think, it's about what we do. And therefore, one of our big commitments, and what we have learned, going back to Edwin's question, over the past 10 years, in implementing this journey of being a sustainable business, is doing things and course correcting when things don't happen. And every year we'll have clear milestones that we want to achieve. And Karen and Steve talked about some of the milestones that we have achieved through doing. One of the ways that we hold ourselves to account to doing is to translate the 9 SDGs into things that we can do every day. So whether that's on environment, you had Steve talking about our commitment to planting 5 million trees. By the end of this calendar financial year, we'll have done 1 million. So that will allow us to be on that journey. So it's actually putting very specific milestone that allows us to measure whether we are making that progress. And clearly, sometimes we are behind. And we have to acknowledge that we are behind and not use it as an excuse not to commit to doing.
Absolutely. Kariuki? Inspiration to action.
Yeah, I think you can only inspire if you're doing. It's not possible to inspire if you're not doing it, because people can, I mean, it's not just coming and give some talk. You have to inspire to do. If I just give a few examples of what Standard Chartered has done in this space. If you look, for instance, in our head office building, we made a commitment that it's going to be single-use plastic free. And we've achieved that. It's completely single-use plastic-free, and we've started extending that to the rest of the branch network, and we should be able to complete this by the end of the year, certified. Not us saying it, but certified that single-use plastic is completely not in our domain at all. When you talked about the environment, some of the things that we are talking about, whether it's partnering, we are partnering with Kenya Forest Services in terms of what can we do more in the green spaces in Nairobi, and we've chosen Nairobi Arboretum, and there's some action that we are doing there. How can we help? Because we've seen in terms of green spaces in Nairobi, how can we partner with the friends of Nairobi Arboretum so that we can start making it a place for recreation. People can go and run. That is something that we are really excited about. It's also being deliberate about a marathon, the Standard Chartered Marathon. We are working to make it a sustainable marathon, and there's quite a bit of work that is going to happen in that space to make it a real sustainable marathon. The partners, the suppliers, and then finally extending what we are doing to our suppliers as well. When you talk about the commitments we've made as a bank that will be net neutral by 2050 across our entire, even with our clients, but as a bank, we want to be there by 2030. It's being very, very deliberate. So there are actions we are taking. It's only when you're taking those actions and doing them that you can inspire others to join you. You cannot just inspire without doing something. So for us, it's being very deliberate and saying, these are the actions we are going to take every day, every year, and then making sure that for us, across our entire staff, 1,400 colleagues, they understand it and they live it every day, because that's what is going to make the biggest difference. Yvonne.
Inspiration through action. Gwing, you get the final word.
Thank you, Yvonne. Our core business actually is action, because we are in the business of supporting any for-profit business that wants to get on this journey. So throughout this year, we've been supporting 63 women-owned businesses outside of Nairobi, because a lot of time the concentration is here, in Machakos, in Murang'a, in Mombasa, in Kisumu, just to help them to say, okay, what does it mean to build from the ground up an impact-driven business model? And next year, we are going to work in partnership with World University Service of Canada. They are funding a program that allows us to help any organization that's having a challenge with gender inequality, or hiring persons with disabilities, or hiring youth, or hiring women, to help them say, okay, so what are the things that you can do in your company that create space for you to achieve this? And so those are the types of programs that we do, so that we can help more businesses get on this journey to achieve sustainability.
Indeed. Gwing Kimani, Peter Ndegwa, and Kariuki Ngare, thank you very much. But I really would like us to give our biggest round of applause to my co-moderators, Edwin Precious Tumaini and Marianne Gishoge, the leaders of the future. Asanteni sana. I know we can give them a bigger round of applause to just encourage them and thank them for making the time for us here. I think that's our time with the panel. Thank you very much. You may take your seats as we carry on with the rest of our program. What a great session. What great questions that they have, clearly showing how they are thinking towards the future. And please do note that they will be holding us to account. And I think it was important to just see the face of all of the efforts that we are putting in. And it's great to see them. And it's great to know that they're really switched on and engaged with the process. I'd like us to get to our keynote speeches in a moment. But first, I've got a quick announcement. Regarding our sustainability development goals, we want to award another winner very quickly before we move on to our next segment. Remember, we had asked you the question earlier. We awarded via via Zoom, Caesar. And now the next winner who also got the answer correct via YouTube is Maina Njuguna. Maina Njuguna joining us from YouTube. We thank you and congratulations on winning the Evo Pad. We will be in touch with you to see how you can get your prize. So continue to stay with us, continue to engage. The hashtag is Sustainable Safaricom, at Safaricom PLC across Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and YouTube. So keep all of that coming. What a great conversation. Inspiration through action, I think for me, is one of the take-home points. And of course, measuring and creating standards that you can then live by and hold ourselves to account. I'd like us to now listen to our keynote speakers this morning. And I would like to begin by inviting on stage Mr. Stephen Jackson, who's the UN Resident Coordinator. Welcome.
Good morning, everyone, and I think I'd like to start by expressing my gratitude and relief that I wasn't facing some of those questions, which were extremely penetrating, very, very searching indeed. Friends, information technology and mobile connectivity, which after all are Safaricom's core business, are quite simply a beacon of hope for the world. Every day, they allow billions of people to connect and interact. And during the COVID-19 pandemic, these connections with loved ones, with schools and colleges, with colleagues in remote workplaces, with healthcare professionals, with essential suppliers, became more important than ever. And Safaricom and companies like it have consistently helped to sustain that hope. So for me, that's just one material way in which Safaricom has helped to sustain development during this most testing of times for our country and our planet. CS Vetimaina, Chair Michael Joseph, CEO Peter Ndegwa, Stephen, my namesake, Yvonne, Marianne, Edwin, the co-moderators, friends, both in the hall and online. You'll all know of the excellent work, and we've been hearing about it this morning, of the United Nations Global Compact, whose ambition is to make business sustainable and to benefit sustainable development from business. And indeed, Peter and I sit in the UN Global Compact Kenya together. And of course, the global leadership of UN Global Compact is provided by none other than a proud daughter of Kenya and of Safaricom, my friend and sister, Sanda Ojiambo. Congratulations, Safaricom, for being, as we heard earlier, the only African company to have been awarded UN Global Compact lead status. That's quite an accolade. And for 10 years, you've been blazing the trail, and that's why we're here this morning. You've been blazing the trail in sharing your successes, yes, but also, as Yvonne reminded us, the constraints, the challenges that you face in a transparent and accountable manner through this sustainable business reporting mechanism. All of these are amazing achievements and testimony to the caliber of leadership and stewardship that Safaricom has nurtured. So I want to say on behalf of UN Kenya, a very warm and hearty hongera sana. Friends, earlier this month, the United Nations Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, unveiled a new 12-point vision for the planet called Our Common Agenda. And it's very easy to find. Just Google Our Common Agenda and you'll hit it. One message that rang louder and clearer than any other was this: the choices that we make today as a planet and as people, the choices that we make today or that we fail to make today, could either result in further breakdown of humanity in perpetual crisis, or in a breakthrough to a more just, sustainable, and safer world. We now have a fleeting but golden chance to build a more sustainable future together, but we only have 8 years left until 2030, until that rendezvous with destiny that are the Sustainable Development Goals. Now, Safaricom's work is critical to many of the SDGs in Kenya and on the continent. On what basis can I make that claim? First, you're delivering connectivity and innovative products and services. That's Sustainable Development Goal, SDG number 9 on innovation. By doing so, you're enabling Kenyans to partner more effectively and more efficiently, and, COVID again, virtually. That's goal number 17 on partnership. Through these partnerships, you're helping Kenya and Kenyans move towards goal number 3 on health. And Michael online spoke movingly of your work during COVID just a few minutes ago. Towards goal 4 on education, tele-education. Goal 5 on gender equality by bringing more women and girls into the online national conversation. And you're doing so in ways that are increasingly environmentally sustainable. We heard about that from Karen. And that stimulate economic growth. So that's goals 16 and 8, respectively. Kudos. Hongera sana, again. But it's clear that some very deep challenges remain. Existential threats to our common goals and to the full achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals in Kenya and globally. During the last few weeks, I've visited a large number of regions in Kenya to familiarize myself with the challenges and opportunities of this journey towards the SDGs. And indeed, a lot is happening. But many questions still remain in my mind from the interactions that I've had with people in northern Kenya, in the refugee camps of Dadaab and Kakuma and in the host communities around them, or in the urban informal settlements not very far from here in Matare, where I was just a couple of weeks ago. A great deal more remains to be done to ensure that we accelerate towards transformative and sustainable economic, social, and environmental solutions. A couple of examples. We simply haven't yet tapped into the amazing potential that there is in the fact that more than 35 million Kenyans are under the age of 35. That youth bulge is potentially our most dynamic vector for driving social and economic development. But every year, 1 million more young Kenyans come onto the job market. Only half of 14 to 17-year-olds in Kenya finish secondary school, and only about 8% progress to university. And even for those who do get to university and colleges, we see a deep and persistent mismatch between the skills they acquire and those that the job market can absorb. But on an optimistic note, recent research by an online platform with whom we work, Shujaz, revealed that when young people are engaged and when they see the smallest glimmer of opportunity in front of them, trust, partnership, economic and social development, participatory democracy, all become possible. So again, connectivity, which you provide, Safaricom, it's key to reaching youth, engaging with them, unleashing their creativity and their determination to shape their future and their country's future. A second existential threat, of course, is COVID. A public health emergency of deep gravity very quickly spiraled into the most dramatic human and socioeconomic crisis we've seen in 100 years. And it's a very major threat to the tangible achievements that have been made in the journey towards the SDGs. Around the world, hundreds of millions have returned to absolute poverty. Here in Kenya, the impact has been equally dramatic. And as a result of global vaccine inequity global vaccine injustice, we're far from through the worst. So I really want to salute the way that the Kenyan private sector came together early on in the pandemic to provide and support a global collective response, something that you mentioned already, Peter. And I really agree with you, Yvonne, that never have the principles driving this sustainable business report been so profound or so important as right now. Let me mention a third existential threat. Just a week or so ago, His Excellency the President declared a national drought emergency, ravaging as many as 21 of 47 counties. And just tomorrow, I'll be flying to Wajir with CS Wamalwa to launch a large-scale drought emergency appeal. Now, on the one hand, we have much to thank Safaricom for here again, because thanks to M-Pesa, we can serve the impacted communities through M-Pesa, through cash transfers, in a way that is far more effective, immediate, efficient, economically cost-effective, and transparent than traditional relief food distribution. So M-Pesa provides us a ready tool to respond. And yet, I can't fail to note the irony that in a country as 21st century as Kenya, with an extraordinary tool like M-Pesa, we're still facing a drought emergency. It's as though we're in two different worlds somehow in Kenya. So we urgently need a Marshall Plan that brings together public and private sector actors, domestic and international, to reach those in northern Kenya, to invest in resilience, in the creation of jobs and livelihoods, and to ensure that no one is left behind. And we need a similar major push to reach the populations at risk of being left behind in Kenya's burgeoning informal settlements, where 1/8 of the population currently lives, strives, and thrives, and which are growing at an incredible 4% a year. So I really hope Safaricom can continue to partner with the government at national and county levels and with the United Nations in Marshall Plans for both the rural north and for the underserved, informal, urbanized. I could go on enumerating these challenges, but it isn't all gloom and doom. So let me give my perspective on a few elements that could form our common agenda through shared value collaborations. CS Kenya's Vision 2030 coincides, does it not, with the race to the last decade of Agenda 2030 and the SDGs, so that Kenya can still become the newly industrializing middle-income country, providing a high quality of life to all its citizens. To do that, we need to engender and support an agile social, political, and economic space, one that is inclusive, responsive to the needs of Kenya's people, and unlocks their collective energies. And we have to work on this together, friends. And I believe that the information technologies and platforms and digital disruption are key. Let me just give you one example. Did you know that extending broadband, and we heard already about the progress that's being made on this. Did you know that extending broadband is one of the quickest ways to move people out of extreme poverty? A recent World Bank study shows that extreme poverty drops by about 4% per annum after 1 year of gaining mobile broadband coverage. 4% per annum. 2 or more years see it drop by 7%. A global or national campaign to extend broadband, therefore, could deliver extraordinary dividends to the extremely impoverished. So this is just one example of an accelerator for the kind of sustainable development that we need. And it's going to require the leadership, the vision, and the energies of everyone in the private sector. There is a golden opportunity to be seized, to collaborate and build synergies towards these common goals. And we can do it if we can master what a good friend and colleague of mine rather elegantly refers to as the shared value dance. Marianne, you were quite right to pose that question to Peter. How do we strike the right balance between profit and purpose? It's a difficult one, but it's imperative that we find the solution. We must urgently identify initiatives together that can guarantee and deliver profit with purpose, or the so-called triple bottom line: economic profit, social impact, environmental sustainability simultaneously. And again, I believe you in Safaricom are blazing the trail. But we mustn't just identify these, we have to scale them up. We only have these 8 years. Fortunately, we do have the tools. We have Global Compact Kenya, and we have the SDG Public-Private Partnership Platform, a unique platform co-created by the government of Kenya and the United Nations system. And Safaricom is a member of the SDG Partnership Platform, and we've done a great deal of work already with the M-Pesa Foundation. This shared SDG Public-Private Partnership Platform of ours sustains a robust, well-positioned and trusted multi-stakeholder ecosystem that convenes, connects, and catalyzes the kinds of concrete investments that can realize this triple bottom line across the Big Four agenda and across multiple sectors. By pooling all of our resources, public and private, domestic and international, we can scale up these shared value business models and harness the superpower of private equity, private capital, to complement what are now, because of COVID, very constrained public finances. And we can still hit those SDGs by 2030. Let me give some illustrations. Safaricom and UNICEF together have already connected 87 schools to the internet, providing greater learning opportunities for 31,000 children. Safaricom's been supporting UNICEF's campaign to end violence against children. It's called Spot It, Stop It. Lastly, Safaricom is leveraging its unparalleled reach through mobile SMS text messages to support UNICEF, the World Health Organization, and the Ministry of Health on immunization campaigns. But, and here I'm going to close, you'll be relieved to hear, it's not enough. We have to do much, much more, and much, much more quickly. So let me throw on the table a couple of moonshot initiatives that we might dream of together and realize together. Under the GIGA initiative, UNICEF and the International Telecommunications Union, the ITU, are pushing hard with the Ministry of Youth and Information and Communications Technology, and I believe with your ministry as well, CS, to connect 1,000 more schools to broadband internet by the end of 2022. And the overall aim is to connect all 23,000 schools around the country to broadband. If we can do that, kids learn, communities prosper. We can do this together, but 1,000 schools by the end of next year isn't going to cut it. We have to get them all done. So that's the moonshot that I want to invite you into, is connecting all schools within a very immediate period around the country. And we can do this through Generation Unlimited, the President's flagship initiative to bring together public and private sector for youth. So I invite Safaricom to join us in the Generation Unlimited platform, supported by the SDG partnership platform that I spoke of earlier. A second moonshot. UNDP is helping government at county levels to roll out innovation hubs across the country. I was in Isiolo just last week with CS Mucheru and the Deputy Chief of Staff of State House, visiting a fabulous youth innovation center in Isiolo town that's focusing and harnessing young people's energies and leveraging on the power of information technology. But why shouldn't we have one of those innovation hubs in every one of the 47 county towns around the country. Indeed, why shouldn't we have many more? So again, I'd like to invite Safaricom and the other private sector actors in the room to join us in a moonshot to build innovation hubs in every county in the country. So friends, as I wind up, the hour is urgent and time is short. Kenya needs to go forward together to hit the 17 SDGs, and it's going to need everybody. The energies of youth, represented by Marianne and Edwin, the energies of the private sector, represented by all of you here today, United Nations, government, CS. It's going to need us all. It's going to need us all to drive to the 17 SDGs and to leave no one behind, to close those gaps, those widening gaps that I spoke of earlier, to go forward in the manner Tuende Mbogi Full, as DJ Maji Maji taught me in Sheng recently when I returned from Matare and went on Ghetto FM with him. He was very patient with me as I took my lessons in Sheng. So I turn to you, Safaricom, and other key players who've joined us at this important event to make sure that we go forward together, that we go forward Mbogi Full. Kweli twaweza, twende tukikuke SDGs. Asanteni sana.
Asante sana. A round of applause. I hope umekuja na mbogi yako na karibu Kanairo. So I hope you're learning as we go, because we could do this entire session in Sheng. I don't know how far that would go with me, but thank you very much for raising a number of issues, for also throwing down a challenge that is something that we will definitely take here with us. Like we said, it's progress, not perfection, and you never really arrive at the destination. So a lot of what you've said is a lot to think about and reflect on, including that great fact about expanding broadband and the effect that that has on ending extreme poverty, which would be in line with Safaricom transitioning from a telco to a technology company. So one of the things that Mr. Stephen Jackson has said is that this is something we all do together, both young and old, and getting all of those energies, looking at the future, letting go of the past and embracing the present as we move forward, and all sectors and all players. And that is why we're so pleased and honored to have here with us today Cabinet Secretary for the Ministry of Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development, Ms. Betty Minor. Let's give her a round of applause as she comes here to speak to us today on matters sustainability. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much for having me here. I don't know if Michael is still online, Peter, and the rest of the team from Safaricom. It's I'd like to congratulate you on the launch of your 10th sustainability report. It was actually, when I got the letter, I was actually quite excited to accept quickly, because I was here to launch your first sustainability report back then. Then I was still leading the Kenyan Association of Manufacturers, and Safaricom had recently joined the Global Compact the Kenya Global Compact chapter, and that's a conversation we were starting with companies in Kenya. So it's exciting to see not just that you have kept on the journey, but you're also inspiring others along the way. You mentioned in your remarks that Kenya Breweries, or East African Breweries, launched their report recently. We've also visited and had other companies launch their reports. And I think it's a really good practice that Kenyan companies are starting to invest in. And the challenge is to others who haven't, to measure their footprint, to measure the impact of their business across across the entire ecosystem, because, as mentioned before, whatever is not measured doesn't count, and a lot of these things count. But I also want to congratulate you for demonstrating that this journey of sustainability, and we need to, I think we need to banish a lot of this myth that the journey of sustainability is costly and that there is a tension between profit and purpose. If there is anything that we learn every day when Safaricom announces its numbers, is that it's an extremely profitable company. So this sustainability journey has actually come at great benefit to the shareholders and to, obviously, to the employees of the organization. There is actually no tension. And I was trying to search, because I've been involved in this for a while, since the time we joined the Global Compact. I still try to find evidence of companies that went bust because of making this decision. I know many companies that have gone bust. Some of them are fairly famous, but I haven't met companies that have made conscious decisions to walk this journey to focus on expanding shared value that have actually gone bust. In the context of COVID last year, I visited a company, one of our small, it's not a major company, but it's in furniture. But it actually told us that as a result of their model of working with others along their value chain, rather than manufacturing everything and delivering to customers, but working with small fundis who would then work with with eventual customers, they actually expanded, in the context of COVID, they expanded their revenue by more than 25%, which was not the case for others. So that sustainable journey is the journey that we suggest and we want to recommend to many companies. Another example I'd like to give comes from work back then, more than 10 years ago, when the Association of Manufacturers were encouraging companies to focus on reduction of their energy consumption as part of a UN, actually it was a UN fund, I think it was a World Bank, GEF-funded project on reduction of CO2 emissions, and we'd signed up to this project, and one of the works we needed to do was undertake audits with companies and suggest to them ways in which they would reduce their CO2 emissions. We were met with a lot of skepticism because the narrative then and the narrative that still prevails to this date is that global warming, the countries and the companies responsible for global warming are in the developed north, and we don't have a significant CO2 emission footprint in the south. Then we decided we needed to turn the narrative to say you're not just reducing carbon emissions, you're saving yourselves money. Once we changed the narrative in that way, the number of companies that were recruited and agreed to do energy audits increased. The second thing, and I think that's where the measurement comes in, is that the association introduced the Energy Management Award, where it would recognize the companies that had saved themselves the most as a result of the journey they did in energy efficiency. I'm glad that the association has kept that award going, but year on year, we noted that several companies were saving themselves more than 1 billion shillings cumulatively in unnecessary energy costs. And as we reported on that, we actually, as an association, had to remember that it was a CO2 emissions project. So we also need to not just report the amount of money saved, but we also needed to report on the CO2. But the point I make here is that this journey of efficiency, the journey of sustainability, the green journey, the examples we have all heard today are not journeys that cost you money. They look like that, but they don't cost you money. So I want to thank you for the journey that you've walked, the inspiration you've become, and we'll continue to encourage you to walk this journey. As Steve mentioned, a lot of the stuff you're doing resonates a lot with government. We engage a lot with the private sector through our regular dialogue, so we also get feedback from yourselves as to how the regulatory environment and other related measures can support the journey of companies like Safaricom. But we also use this opportunity to challenge companies like Safaricom and others to also provide greater leadership in also pushing the regulatory frameworks in dealing with societal challenges. Steve has talked a lot about what we intended to say about some of the challenges and spaces you have in partnering with government. You have continued and you demonstrated that. The partnership in the context of movement of relief and movement of support, financial support during COVID, your partnership in programs such as Kazi, Mtaani, and others, programs where we worked together last year to reach vulnerable communities, and the cash transfer, basically being the backbone of our cash transfer program, continues, and it is appreciated. The support to small businesses is also a furtherance of government efforts to build up the SMEs. And I'm certain that out of your own reach out, even if it is things like Pochi la Biashara, before long you will be telling us that that has become a new growth center for your own business. So this partnership is going to be critical and support, and we want to encourage you to explore other products that can support small businesses. But as I end, I would also like to, as Steve said, draw your attention to where we might require more leadership from companies such as yourself in dealing with societal problems. One thing that comes to mind is the issue that the UN Secretary General referred to in his comments last week. And I think that's a challenge that's going to many tech companies. Part of our challenge with dealing with COVID-19, recruiting people, recruiting citizens to take the vaccine is really the challenge of fake news. And the Secretary General referred to it and called it, we're dealing with an infodemic. We're dealing with a pandemic, but we're dealing with an infodemic. And the media in which this fake news and related and unsafe, unscientific information is passed is through networks and platforms such as your own. And I think the challenge that has been given to us and given to companies is that we would also like to see your leadership in helping us in this transmission of correct scientific information. Cybersecurity is something we've talked a lot about, but I think that even the management of the content that is carried in your networks becomes an issue. And I think there's an invitation being given to tech companies to begin to be part of the solution. Companies have led in this sustainability journey. I mean, in fact, you're probably doing a lot better than sometimes, policymakers are doing with regard to the decisions that, you're making. But in this regard, and it becomes a major, global security challenge, the challenge of fake news and incorrect information, and its capacity to compromise in the rollout of well-deserved government programs and societal programs, I think for me, it has, as the Secretary General calls it, it has become an infodemic, and we do need to see some leadership from companies such as yourselves in dealing with it. But especially in our context, and we speak especially as we prepare for a seminal election in 2020 in Kenya. We all know the role that fake news and ethnic mobilization and ethnic strife contributed to the challenges and the insecurities that we faced, and actually the violence in 2007. And I'm certain that you're also aware of this. So companies such as Safaricom require a safe and stable environment. And you're actually being invited to also become parties in this regard. The amount of information we get, I like what you're doing these days in warning us about sharing our PIN information, dealing with all these guys who call us from committee and other places, and try and take advantage of unsuspecting persons. I like what you're doing in supporting us with ensuring that all the SIM cards in the country are well documented and registered. But I think it's also an invitation for tech companies to become part and parcel of maintenance of peace as we get into campaigns. And even if it requires regulations, Steve, we used to talk a lot about that. Sometimes it's actually proposals of regulations that come from business that can support us in realizing these necessary social outcomes. And a government will be willing and able to listen to you if you can propose regulations in this regard. So even as you walk the journey, and as we continue, I think the challenge that is being brought to companies such as yourselves is this part of building a company that has that is successful both in terms of its economic and revenue outcomes, gives you an added challenge and responsibility of also building a company that supports societal ideals and stability and our own security. So I thank you. I'm happy to have been here for your 10th report launch. We're glad you're making these strides. Continue in that journey, but challenge yourselves in increasing what else you measure in terms of your outcomes. And some of the suggestions from both the UNDP and ourselves are things I would like to see you consider as you go forth. Well done, and enjoy the rest of your journey.
Thank you very much, Cabinet Secretary Betty Minor, and what a befitting guest and an honor to have you with us. You were here with us from the start, that's from 2012, and it's good to have you here with us on the 10th anniversary of making known and making public and taking stock of the sustainable business practices that have been incorporated into Safaricom each year for the last 10 years, and indeed mentioning the critical time that we are in the country right now and the role that each of us needs to play in making businesses sustainable throughout the various cycles of this country. Thank you very much, Madam Cabinet Secretary, for spending your time with us this morning. We're just about to do the launch, and you will just get a moment to now get your hands on the report and get into some of the details that Karen and the team have been working on for the last year. But let's now hear from Safaricom PLC Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Peter Ndegwa. Let's give him a round of applause.
Good morning, everyone. Those who are online and those who are in the room, good morning. Happy that you all came this morning to partner with us as we launch the 10th Sustainability Report. And thank you CS, for being with us here. I wasn't aware you came for the first one, so great milestone and very symbolic. And if there's one thing that I remember from your comments, is that there is no company that goes bust by focusing on sustainability or indeed by focusing on society. And I think I'll quote that for in many of the things that we do going forward. So thank you for that. I also want to acknowledge our teams, led of course by Steve, who heads corporate relations, but Karen and the team who do all the heavy lifting, and also all the teams across the organization that have worked on both the sustainability report this year, but also over the years really worked hard to get us on to where we are today. We know there's still a long way to go, but made huge progress. So CS Betty Minor, Safaricom board members, I know Michael represented them, and anyone who is online and present today, Steve Jackson, UN resident coordinator. Welcome to Kenya. I know you came through in March. Welcome. You're the speed at which you are learning Swahili. Sounds like you've been around forever. Fellow corporate leaders and some of my co-moderators, Madam Kimani, but also Bwana Karaoke. Welcome, and also those others who are present, both here but also online. Safaricom colleagues, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, I'll make a few concluding remarks, but just to reinforce some of the big messages that we've had. Thank you once again for joining us. This year's theme, I reinforce it, standing together. It's all about partnerships. It's all about going beyond. And we've seen the impact. We set up the theme of going beyond as part of our 20th anniversary celebration. It's amazing that Safaricom is only 20 years old. We are only turning 21, just going beyond teenage. And I know today we also saw the future represented by the two students, one from Starehe, but also one from our own M-Pesa Academy. And great questions. I was expecting those, but I didn't expect as hard questions as were asked. But keep questioning us, keep raising the comments, because as you get older, you forget that actually there's a generation that will come after us. So, and I think both across all the speakers, we've talked about how we can leverage technology to explore and grow this area, because technology plays a big role. We've seen just how big technology is. In terms of the role that we played during COVID, I think the COVID-19 has reinforced our belief that we cannot succeed in isolation. The pandemic has altered the environment that all businesses, and ours was no exception. Amongst many initiatives, we partnered with government to really support the society. Our primary role was to keep the country connected. Of course, we gave lots of transactions free for 1.7 billion transactions free in the past year or so, and we saw a big impact. The impact that had. I'm very proud about the critical role that we played. You've seen from the numbers that Karen went through that we've expanded our footprint significantly, in particular our 4G. And it's good, Stephen, you've highlighted just how much impact broadband connection, upgrading people from 2G to 4G makes a big difference to their livelihood in terms of access to the internet is a single distinguishing factor in terms of social and economic empowerment. And we see it every day, both for individuals, but also for SMEs. Then, of course, we need, as we get out of COVID, as we vaccinate a lot of the population, we need to build back better. So, as a company, we remain committed to supporting our stakeholders navigate through this period and return to our business as usual. It's not an option, really. If unchecked, we know that the global environment emergencies such as climate change could cause social and economic damages far greater than what COVID has caused. And as the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres recently said, with humanity on the edge of an abyss and moving in the wrong direction, the world must wake up. We should all design the collective recovery around building back better. And we've discussed a lot of those areas that we could work together in this during this morning. And I think the biggest element that the COVID crisis has reinforced is that we need, there's a strong case for ensuring a resilient, sustainable, and more responsible business model. In terms of, for us, going beyond is important because last year, as Michael said, we've embarked on a 5-year strategy that moves us just from being pure telco with a large payment platform to a technology company with a broader offering that allows individuals to live the lives they intend to live, but also SMEs, empowers SMEs, and because SMEs are at the heart of what we do, or are at the heart of the economy. 40% of GDP is contributed through SME. They contribute 80% of the employment. So we've introduced a number of things, customer obsession. We are going back to basics in terms of being customer obsessed. We've introduced agile ways of working, being more responsive to societal issues, to customer challenges, to partner elements, so that we create products and innovate so that we improve lives. So I'm pleased with the progress that we are making here, and I'm also excited about the growth prospects that the expansion into a new geography, such as Ethiopia, having won a new license, the first license operated by a foreign company through a consortium, will make a big difference. This will be a large country, projected at 150 million population by 2030, and with over 4 million SMEs. So we'll partner with the Ethiopian government to create an environment where we digitize the country for the benefit of the Ethiopian people. So we are looking forward to that, and our intention is to launch a business sometime in 2022. In terms of our support to accelerating SDGs in the decade of action, as Steve has highlighted, it's a race against time if we are to achieve the UN SDG agenda by 2030. Whilst progress has been made, we are not advancing at the speed or scale that is required, and COVID has just taken us back. Our industry contributes mainly to the SDG number 9, industry innovation and infrastructure. And we have many products, including, I've talked about Lipa Mdogo Mdogo, to address the mobile internet gap. And that is going to be a big focus for us. Today, we still have 15 million Kenyans having 2G phones. And as you know, a 2G phone cannot access the internet, or at least you can only do very basic things. Our intention is in 2-3 years, we should have 75% of the population across our country having a 4G-enabled device. We are currently having the network at 95% coverage, and we continue to invest going forward. Madam CS, you talked about some of the other products that we've launched, Pochi, Rabiashara, which is for a one woman, one man business. It allows small businesses have separate their personal and business wallet, and it's starting to really have traction, and we are seeing this improving the way businesses think about their business, or individuals think about their business, but also what they can do with it in the future. And there are many other products that we have introduced that supports business across the country. So as I conclude, ladies and gentlemen, I remain optimistic regarding the future, with projections showing signs of economic growth within our country. At a personal level, as the leader of Safaricom, my personal commitment is I lead this company in helping the country build back better through initiatives, inclusive business models, partnerships that scale up innovations in 3 key areas: providing products and services that will help SMEs and micro SMEs, who are the backbone of our economy, to rebuild and thrive; promoting further socioeconomic inclusion by expanding and digitizing select ecosystems such as agriculture, education, and healthcare. And we've seen just the power that technology can have on education and healthcare during COVID, and through innovative solutions and partnerships, because we can't do it alone. And the third one is by leading the organization's climate change action plan to becoming a net zero company by 2050. So I urge all business leaders, both large and small, there's no small or big, everyone brings impact and makes a difference, to join us in committing to play a role in bringing sustainability to the forefront and achieving the SDGs, because together we can be stronger, together we can achieve more, and together we can go beyond. To quote Steve, or to play back what you said, twende tukiuke, which is going beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the era of sustainable business with purpose. Thank you for coming today. Really feel inspired, we feel supported, and we feel encouraged that you should continue on this journey. And in partnership with others, we can make a big difference. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Peter Ndegwa, Safaricom PLC Chief Executive Officer. Congratulations to you, the board, to Stephen Chege, to Karen, and the entire team. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a 10-year journey from 2012 through to 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment we've been waiting for, that is the 10th Safaricom Sustainable Business Report of 2021. Congratulations to Safaricom, standing together, going beyond. Congratulations for doing this 10 years running. I'd like to invite our chief guests to come up here on stage. We're handing each of you this report, calling on Peter Ndegwa, the Chief Executive of Safaricom, Ms. Betty Minor, who's the Cabinet Secretary for Industrialization, Trade, Enterprise Development, and Mr. Stephen Jackson, the UN Resident Coordinator. Please receive your reports as you go on stage. This is our moment to remember this day, and what a day it is indeed. Ms. Betty, I wonder if you remember what it was like in 2012 versus what it is 10 years now. You've witnessed the growth of Safaricom. We've witnessed your growth as well in the industrialization space and manufacturing. Warm congratulations. It is all about sustainability. As we've said, it is not costly, and purpose and profit are definitely possible together. Congratulations to Safaricom. I'd like to also invite my co-moderators of the day, Marianne and Edwin. Please come on stage, receive your reports, and let us join them on stage as we take the photos. I'd also like to ask Ms. Ngwing Kimani, Mr. Kariuki Ngare, if you can join us as well. Karen, where are you? We must have you up here. This is the fruit of your labor, as well as Mr. Stephen Chege. Please come up here and let's receive your report and let's take a photo. In Africa, if we don't have photos, then it probably did not happen. Congratulations. Let's remember this moment, having the leaders of the future and those of the present take a look at sustainability for the future. This is what the future looks like. Ladies and gentlemen, 10 years on. Congratulations to Safaricom. Let's get the best shot for that. Please hold up your report. And we ask you to take off your mask for just a moment. May I ask Director Chris Sananu to join us up here as well? Director Chris Sananu, Karibu Sana. Karibu Sana, thank you for joining us. Let's take that photo. Congratulations to all of you. And thank you for making the commitments. Let's keep holding our feet to the fire and keep holding each other accountable, and most of all, inspiring through action. Thank you very much to the team at Safaricom. Thank you very much, Standard Chartered Kenya, for gracing us here. Thank you, B-Lab. Thank you, our leaders of the future. Go through the report page by page and see what more we can continue to do. Where we haven't quite achieved our targets, may we do so over the next year. And here's to 10 years and 10 years more, and another 10 years, and another 10, and another 10. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your time here today. As we continue with that, many thanks to all of you for coming. Thank you very much to our virtual attendees, Asanteni Sana, to our winners. We will be in touch with you to let you know how you can get your prizes. And just a reminder that 2021, that 10th business report is all about standing together, going beyond. And at this moment, I will invite us all, twende tukiuke.